How do you want to make yourself taller? Asked Kai. We could just stand on top of each other, I proposed. Or Kai gives Louise a piggyback. Wait a second. I walked into the narrow hallway connecting the workshop and the main hallway. There was a small coat hanger where my dad kept his various coats and jacket. I picked out the longest one and went back to the workshop. In the meantime, Kai and Louise had actually managed to make themselves taller. Kai took an old bedsheet and tied it around his shoulders in a particularly nifty way. Louise could step into the sheet pockets dangling around the height of his middle thigh. I deposited the other coat onto the table for now, careful not to disturb our coffee pot and postcard, and ran back into the hallway to look for a scarf. Then I used that scarf to tie Kai and Louise together in order to give them more stability and prevent her from falling over backwards. Putting my dad's coat over her shoulders, I nodded contentedly and said, "Now you're definitely the height of an adult." But my face, Louise couldn't help but rightly find a fault in my observation. My hate's going to deceive no one if my face looks like that of a child. What am I supposed to do? Take a bag and cut her to Rye House? Maybe that works out on Carnival, but it stays paused at Wednesday. Alright, there's this one question I had ever since. Why is it actually called Wednesday? I answered her question with ease, since I'd had the same question a while ago, and my father had given me a lengthy answer. People used to take a bunch of twigs to church as a reminder of Palm Sunday, the Sunday before Easter when Jesus arrived in Jerusalem. And the next Wednesday they burned the twigs and used the ash to draw crosses onto their foreheads. Wow, so they made it that Jesus left fingerprints on their forehead, Kai laughed, and with Louise still on his shoulders, made a daring turn to point at our coffee pot and postcard. I thought about it for a bit. Who knows, maybe that was actually their intention after all. Maybe they wanted to express their idea of God saying, "I've welcomed you into myself, you are redeemed and saved, and this ash is physical proof, my fingerprints in form of a cross." But realistically, drawing an ashen cross onto our foreheads isn't going to help us look more like an adult. Louisa turned the conversation back to our actual problem at hand. "You've got a point there," I noticed, and spontaneously decided to go outside. "Hey, wait a second," Kai and Louisa called after me. "You can't just leave us like that." I didn't listen to them, but instead walked straight towards the bike, still leaning against the wall of the old schoolhouse. I dug through the pockets of my pants until I found a scrap of paper and a functional velcro pen. Then I wrote a very polite note that I, Anna, the pastor's daughter, had borrowed the helmet and would return it shortly. After rounding off the message with the former signature, I took the helmet and walked back into the workshop. The helmet went over Louise's head, and she was surprised enough not to even fight back. "So," I stated, "now you look like a real adult." "Are we going to go to the store right now?" Kai's voice sounded muffled from under the coat. "Sure, why not?" I said. "I still got $2 in the pocket somewhere. That's probably enough to buy a bottle of beer." "Okay, all right, but let's hurry up," grumbled Kai. "I feel like Louise is getting heavier by the minute." I helped Kai and Louise over the small steps separating the workshop and the old schoolyard. Sticking closely behind Kai and Louise, I grabbed onto Louise's back in an attempt to at least slightly relieve Kai from his heavy burden. We must have looked quite ridiculous waddling through the streets in the direction of the supermarket, though it wasn't like we were acquainted with a lot of people in the neighborhood. The anglers didn't look out their window, nor did Mr. Zweifel or her closest neighbors, Malka's owner, still hadn't returned. Neither did we see Malka herself. Maybe Mr. Full had taken her on another walk. We hurried as much as we could, and somewhere in the middle of the way, Kai started groaning so much that I went to find a low garden wall for Louise to sit down on, and for Kai to take a breather. And there was really no way we could have done this before, eating 2,000 pancakes each, Kai murmured in a half-whispered complaint. While he continued ranting about the unfairness of his current situation, I looked at the church clock and realized in horror that it was about to be 6 p.m. "We've got to hurry up," I called. "I'm quite sure our village supermarket closes somewhere around 6. I urged Kai and Louise from their more or less comfortable resting spot and further down the street. We'd almost arrived at the store when Louise noticed another plateau in our plan. "But I have to say something, don't I? The store clerks are going to know that I'm a child based on my voice alone." "I'll do the talking for you," I jumped in. We'd almost arrived at the store when Louise noticed another hole in our plan. "But I have to say something, don't I? The store clerks are going to know that I'm a child based on my voice alone." "I'll do all the talking for you," I jumped in, "and you just do that L type of nodding whenever I say something." The working cashier was already carrying stuff inside, a container labeled with road salt and a box with snow shovels, all things that were met with disinterest in the face of our current temperatures. She was getting ready to close up. We were the only visitors, and the cashier lady seemed to have a dozen different things on her mind: closing the cash register, covering up fruits and vegetables, cleaning up, tidying up, and counting all the money in preparation for her own closing time at presumably 6 p.m. Maybe now really was the perfect moment for our little play of deception. "Oh, really?" I started improvising a conversation. "You got up this morning and drove all the way from Berlin to Michtel on a small motorbike?" Louisa nodded seriously. That's so cool. Now I get why you said you needed a drink so much. What you gonna get? Wait, where did you say you were going again? It was somewhere close by, wasn't it? But you didn't want to keep driving for today, right? Here Louisa started shaking her head. She grabbed a bottle of beer and a small chocolate bar, probably because only buying a bottle of beer seemed a little too suspicious. I only hoped that a small amount of money we had would cover both things. While Louisa was busy paying for a chocolate bar beer bottle combination, I heard Kai faintly groaning from under the coat. He seemed to be getting weaker, and I was suddenly terrified to notice that neither his shoes nor Louise's hands were those of an adult. Luckily, the cashier lady only looked at the register and handed out whatever small change without sparing them as much as a glance. We rushed out of the store as quickly as Kai and Louisa could. Our little trick of coat and helmet had actually worked.